The kelp study has come a long way on Long Island, and many growers, as well as Lazy Point Farms, have learned a lot about its complexity to grow and where to grow it. Lazy Point Farms was created to provide structural, educational, and logistical support to advance the future of sugar kelp on Long Island. In 2022, the stakeholders are bringing kelp to the next phase, which is what is its best use here on Long Island and beyond. The East End Food Institute has been partnering with Lazy Points for the last 3 years to help them find a good way to bring kelp to market.
They're exploring the viability of commercial kelp farming here off Long Island, and we've been helping in kind of part of that process to receive the kelp, process it into a number of different products, which are then being sampled by chefs and other interested folks in the community to see, what are going to be the most popular uses for it.
So this was our third year doing the kelp. The first year was very experimental. I had never worked with it before. Last year we got more familiar with it, and just the difference in the kelp from the two locations was quite different. One of the farms had very large, long leaves that were thick, and the other farm had a smaller leaf, a little more tender. So it was really interesting to work with the two different products. This year we came up with a few different products. We did a blanched flash frozen, we did a puree, and then actually even tried some pickling some of the stipes from the kelp. So it was kind of cool, knowing that it's a new product, we're just researching it, so it's just fun, some things worked, some things didn't work. So it's nice to be in the beginning of the program to really see, the baby steps of it.
Some of the kelp had been cleaned prior to us receiving it. Some of the kelp was cut into strips. Some of the kelp was kept in whole blades as much as possible, and then the kelp was blanched, cooled, spun-dried, and then frozen. And then after it was frozen, it was then bagged, vacuum sealed, and frozen again. This is some of the kelp that was harvested in mastic. It's a 1 pound bag of the whole blades that we blanched and vacuum sealed and froze. Currently it's a very small scale project, and so there's very little risk. But yeah, as the project scales up, we want to be absolutely certain that this is totally safe for the consumer. The partnership with Lazy Point Farms is the only time during the year when we're processing kelp. And so it's, we've done it either April or May each year, kind of a 1 week project. This year there were actually 2 different sites where the kelp was harvested from, and each year we've done a little bit more in terms of poundage of kelp received. So we had some kelp that was harvested off of Montauk that was actually a baby kelp, so it didn't have any stipes attached to it, and it was kind of not as fully developed. And then the second project, we had kelp that was harvested in mastic, and that more developed, more mature kelp that had the stipes attached to it. And they also had the time and the infrastructure over there to kind of pre-wash, pre-clean some of the kelp before we received it. That certainly yielded better results. I'm really interested in how this project progresses. I think that kelp is an important part of the local marine ecosystem, and if it's a product that we're able to kind of cultivate and grow more of, it'll help keep the waters cleaner and also provide an off-season income for oyster farmers, which I think would be a great thing to help kind of maintain the financial sustainability for those folks that work so hard kind of growing their oysters during the other months.
I'd like to continue with the program next year and see where it goes. I know we're having, some testing places where to test it, so it's a different product, and see, each year, which is nice to see how we've taken steps to make the program grow, and hopefully it gets bigger again next year.
I think it will evolve. Yeah, I think that globally there is a lot of interest in seaweed consumption in various forms. And it's a very nutritious food from my understanding, and so I think there's really a lot of applications for it. In its raw form or in its minimally processed form, it's not that familiar to our palate here on Long Island because you don't see a lot of it out in the market, but I think there's a lot of opportunity for food producers that want to get creative to introduce it to more people.